Ladies and gentlemen, this is the last time I will address you as members of the PIOB. First, may I address my best wishes to the new chair, Linda de Beer, for a successful chairmanship, wishing her plenty of satisfaction in this often difficult but nevertheless rewarding function. She has much experience and will certainly achieve a lot. Also, my best greetings to the members of the board. The list, unfortunately, is too long to be read here, but we have passed so many years together with active and sometimes passionate discussions. But I also keep a nice recollection of friendship and understanding once all opinions have been laid on the table. All this is not to mention the trips we have undertaken over the years, so to several parts of the world, in order to bring the message that the local auditor community should know what the PIOB stands for. It is with sadness that I now say farewell to all these nice people. The list is long, but I would look back with pleasure to these many rich souvenirs. We will also remember the many meetings with the monitoring group, but also with IFAC. The leadership of these bodies I salute here with respect, but also with personal satisfaction. Also, my greetings to all the former members of the PIOB, the chairs, and the members of the standard setting boards. All of those who have contributed so mightily to the success of the PIOB. Thank you for the support you have always given me and given to the PIOB. Special thanks to the Secretary General. Without his continuous efforts, the PIOB would not have been able to achieve the authority and the standing it has today. We build up a solid friendship, understanding each other, even without talking to each other very often. But also thanks to you for the excellent advice and the often frank opinions which have secured smooth functioning in often difficult matters. Part of your success is, of course, due to the support of the staff, which I would like to mention individually here. Susanna, who left 1.5 years ago, succeeded by Claudia, now the Oversight Director, and Nerea, the Oversight Advisor. Rocio, the organizer of today's event, and we shouldn't forget the longest standing staff member. Heather providing assistance to the full PIOB, and Renzo, the man with the money. Thanks to all of you. After 9 years at the PIOB, it seems right to draw some lessons. The institution was born out of an accidental event from which the world financial leadership drew the conclusion that the accounting profession should be more strongly aware of and directed by the public interest mission as a core element of confidence building in economic data. The awareness of this public interest factor was initially limited to the auditing standards and to oversight of the standard setting procedures. At that time, the broader context was not considered. Today, the perspective has been considerably broadened, in line with the overall idea of social responsibility of private companies and their corporate purpose. More and more, it is accepted that in many respects, reliable data on the activity, the financial position, and the results are key elements in the assessment of their position in society, among which ESG objectives and sustainability are the most frequently mentioned these days. A well-functioning and reliable accounting system is an indispensable instrument for supporting responsible decisions by both public authorities and by private parties. Without strong auditors, this general objective cannot be achieved, and the PIOB has always strongly supported this view. The importance of reliable financial data, for which the necessary assurance has been delivered by qualified professional auditors, has also been illustrated by recent cases, which I cannot avoid mentioning here. In these cases, this safeguard was absent. I only mention here the names of UK Carinian and German Wirecard, where the absence of reliable accounting system led to destruction of the firms involved, but caused large confidence crisis in the companies involved and even wider in the economic system in which they played a leading role. In some cases, even the political system was put in doubt. The creation of the PIOB also took place in a crisis due to at least 2 individual companies. You know, Enron, Welcome, 2001-2002, The changes were then decided by the international financial world, now the monitoring group, leading to the creation of the PIOB, which was then a new professional body. The objective of the PIOB was formulated as follows, and I quote here, it is to increase confidence of investors and others that the public interest activities of IFAC, which were then in charge, including the setting of standards, are properly responsible to the public interest. The PIOB was declared responsible for overseeing the public interest activities of IFAC. Since its creation, the PIOB has given content to this public interest objective and focused its activity entirely on the standard setting. The tasks of the PIOB were formulated in a restrictive way originally, which would not easily allow the standards to be fully responsible to the public interest. Inevitably, the result was a normative system that better responds to the interest of the audit profession, but leaves many public interest aspects unsettled. Therefore, further reforms should be envisaged. As far as the standards are concerned, these are not binding, but are applicable to the audit firms on the basis of the national legal regimes under which these firms are organized. In some states, they are mandatory. In others, they are recommendations, and in third states, they are not mentioned at all. As a consequence, a considerable diversity results, leading to sometimes significant differences in the firm's applicable legal duties. IFAC has made considerable efforts to urge the audit firms to adopt the standards, but the differences remain considerably, especially in the field of ethics. Some other aspects are necessary to ensure the solid audit system, and these have not been put on the agenda. I just mention again the structure of the audit firm, which was composed of a considerable number of local entities, render the equal application of the standards very difficult, and would make the enforcement quite haphazard. Depending on the jurisdictions where an issue arises, the solution will be quite different. This is not likely to enhance confidence in the system. This is particularly, and I mentioned again, important in the field of ethical standards, which are quite different from state to state. By centralizing, and that's one of the possible solutions, some essential functions at the level of the audit firm, not at the level of regulation, several of supervisors or regulation, several of these questions could be avoided. This is the way some of the largest firms have organized themselves. For the other firms, only national regimes applies, and this is quite different. The relationship of the standard setting with the profession is a subject that has attracted attention over many years. Standards which are formulated by the addressees will essentially meet their objectives. This is an important guarantee for the quality of the standards, which will then adequately reflect the issues met in practice. According to the proposals by the PIOB, this system will be changed and will be changed in the near months. Its question may receive an answer to the extent that the members of the standard setting boards will be appointed by the PIOB. I think I have to conclude, and the conclusion would be that the PIOB will have in the future as well as in the past a well-stocked agenda, and I wish a lot of success to the present and future members of this institution. Thank you very much.
PIOB Chair Linda de Beer, CEO Gonzalo Ramos, friends, ladies and gentlemen. I am In-Ki Joo, President of IFAC. I'm honored to join you today as we celebrate 15 years of the PIOB for a discussion that is so important to the public interest and the accountancy profession. I hope that I find each of you safe and well. Today, I'd like to talk about the public interest. I believe that together with the PIOB, the monitoring group, and the standard setting board, we have agreed on a public interest framework for international standard setting, which will continue to keep us public interest focus front and center. I would like to talk through some essential pieces of this public interest framework. It's an excellent lens for the principles and goals we share. On this 15th anniversary of the PIOB, the framework is also a marker of the remarkable work that everyone in the standard setting ecosystem has done together. The delivery of the framework with the monitoring group's July recommendations has made the past few months and today's celebrations all the more meaningful. The monitoring group's public interest framework is the right way to think about what the standards are for and how they should be made. The issues that must be addressed by the SSBs and the PIOB to fulfill their respective public interest mandate and the work IFAC and the profession do to support them are, first, reinforcement of the importance of independence in a standard setting process, benefiting from deep technical expertise and diversity of perspectives. Second, common understanding by the boards and the PIOB about the meaning of responsiveness to the public interest and which judgment are required for achieving this objective. Third, focus by the boards on the public interest in their development of the standards. Fourth, independent PIOB oversight, giving stakeholders confidence that the two boards set standards that are in the public interest. And fifth, appropriate accountability of the PIOB and the two standards in fulfilling their mandates. With these 5 goals, the framework set out clearly that the standard setting process must be thoughtfully designed and carried out from beginning to end with the public interest at its heart and accountability at every turn. These goals clearly define what all stakeholders in standard setting must aim for, and they embody evergreen principles that must be met to serve the public interest. Comprehensive guidance for the international standard setting process cannot be summarized in just a few sentences. And of course, framework goes into much more detail. The framework is valuable not only for its goals and principles, but also for the questions it asks, such as, for whom are standards developed? What interest needs to be served? How are the interests of users best served? What qualitative characteristics should the standards exhibit? How the public interest responsiveness of a standard assessed? What special considerations are required for international audit-related standards, given their particular public interest relevance? In answering these questions, the framework reflects the valuable input received from an extensive collaboration from IFAC, the SSBs, the PIOB, and the monitoring group. I believe the framework will stand the test of time. But I want to emphasize that the purpose of the public interest framework, with its goals and principles and specific prescriptions it offers, is not to guide us for one moment in time or one review of international standards setting process. These are ideas and questions that must remain on our minds for as long as we work on these standards. Public interest depends not only on our complete understanding of how to best serve the public, but also on our ability to adapt to the unforeseen, uncertain, and difficult circumstances that certainly will arise as this year's public health crisis has reminded us. I am confident that this public interest framework will be a reliable guide, and that by living up to it, the profession, and all stakeholders, the public interest, including IFAC, the SSBs, and the PIOB, will achieve their goals for many years to come. The monitoring group's July paper ends with a note about impact assessment. I do not want to overlook this point as we both celebrate today's anniversary and look to the work ahead of us. Framework is full of big questions, as I have mentioned, and the monitoring group has examined those questions thoroughly. But with its impact assessment, the monitoring group notes that the benefits of implementing the framework cannot be measured with data unless we implement it. As professional accountants know well, you cannot evaluate what you cannot measure. Decisions must be driven by the right data. As the monitoring group's recommendations are implemented, we should create mechanisms to measure the stakeholder satisfaction in the standard setting process. This could, for example, be done as a part of the planned effectiveness review process. The paper reinforces that the IFAC and SSB's work in the public interest must proceed with the public interest framework in mind, not just in its guidance, but also as a kind of benchmark. The profession must continue to think, what have we done right? What should we be doing differently, and how? As we move into the transition planning phase and then on to implementation of the monitoring group recommendations, I believe this is a key lesson. We are not working with the static framework. We are working with the principles and guidance that will require constant self-reflection and collaboration. I'd like to turn to the three-tier standard setting model as the key to the work we have already done together and to the processes and guidance that will define future standard setting. First, monitoring. We have seen remarkable progress in the monitoring group's dialogue with the PIOB, SSBs, the IFAC, the past few years, and especially the past few months. Particularly, this has been a dialogue between players with different roles in public interest framework, accountable in different ways to different stakeholders in the public interest. At the top, the institutional mandate of the people charged with the monitoring and the monitoring process itself are crucial to the success of the second and third tiers, the standard setting model. Second is oversight. Today marks 15 years of oversight from the PIOB. Oversight that has been productive and from which the profession and SSBs and the standards they produce have benefited greatly. Strong, transparent, responsive processes on this tier and the one below it are necessary for good outcomes in the model. Third is standard setting. The two SSBs within the three-tier standard setting model live on this tier, doing the detailed work of responding to challenges and opportunities for the accountancy profession to serve the public interest with high quality standards, audit, assurance, and professional ethics. IFAC, with its ongoing support for the independent SSBs and adoption and implementation of the standards, lives here as well, responding with a strong commitment to act in the public interest. Everyone in the three-tier standard setting model has much to be proud of. We all aim to deliver high-quality international standards. I am pleased to say that the quality of the standards coming from the SSBs is evident in their widespread adoption and implementation. As of our 2019 Global Status Report, 80% of IFAC member jurisdictions directly refer to the international standards on auditing. And 57% of IFAC member jurisdictions directly refer to the International Code of Ethics for Professional Accountants. I am proud to celebrate this tremendous work with you today on behalf of IFAC and along with all the other stakeholders in our work. Profession is in much stronger place thanks to our collective effort. To conclude, I'd like to rewind to around the time of the PIOB creation. Enron and WorldCom had a big effect on how I thought of the profession and its public interest mandate. It seems like the sky was falling and the damage truly was enormous, both to the people who lost their savings and jobs and to the public trust. It was clear that the status quo wouldn't do. The profession needed to do better because the public deserved better. I was impressed by the dedication of many global leaders of the profession in that crisis. Two of my predecessors as IFAC President, Aki Fujinuma and Rene Rico, took leadership on rebuilding the public trust by putting the public interest first before the profession in the course of establishing the new model of standard setting. They are inspirations for me to make my run for president of IFAC. Their leadership showed me how important it would be for strong international standards to be written and overseen by people and institutions with the public interest at the heart of their mission. The delivery of the monitoring group's July recommendations is a great achievement for all key stakeholders. It was possible because the MG and the PIOB and SSBs and GPPC have been working hard to build trust among ourselves with an open mind pursuit of public interest. I would like to take this opportunity to thank these entities for putting priority on the public interest during our conversations. On top of this, I would especially like to thank the following key personnel: Anna, Saga, Eddy, Linda, Gonzalo, Tom, Stavros, and our CEO, Kevin, for their leadership and all the effort they put in to pursue the public interest. Although it is virtual, I'm very happy to join you today. But I regret that as my term ends this November, I will not have a chance to join the next anniversary celebration as IFAC President. However, I greatly look forward to the next time I can see my colleagues on this agenda, today's agenda, and in the audience in person. Until then, I wish all of you and your loved ones well, and I congratulate again on 15 years of a job well done. Thank you.